Hi, my name is Katie Fern, for those of you that don't know me. And I'm a mom to 4 boys, and 3 are at home, and a little baby girl who's in heaven, Charlotte. I am a wife to Spencer, and a neighbor to just a couple miles down the road to these beautiful hostesses. So this place is a special place, and I am grateful to be here. So thank you for coming. When Ellie asked me to speak, I think my response to her was something along the lines of, well, that sounds really scary. But yes, I will. And mostly just out of obedience to what I felt God was asking me to do. So, but shortly after I said yes, I had ordered a sign to hang above my bed, really because I liked what it said, to just declare over my husband and over my marriage. And I brought it because I brought props. But when I opened it and read it, because literally this was about an hour. Let's see what I can knock over here. I have to have it so I can see it, because of what if I forget what it says?
I can hold it for you.
Okay, let's see if we can start it on fire. Goodness sakes. And I read it, but this time when I read it, because I literally took it out of the box, and God was like, no, now this is how I love you. And so I read it and I just lost it. And I was like, well, apparently I'll be bringing the sign with me to Ellie's. So I'm going to read it to you, and then I can put it somewhere else. I choose you, and I'll choose you over and over and over. Without pause, without a doubt, in a heartbeat, I'll keep choosing you. And so God really pressed this upon my heart that I just should share that. So can I set it over here, Jeanette, by your toesies? Okay. And so as I'm, kind of putting my thoughts together and trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to say, I decided I wanted to talk about this. And this meaning how he loves us. And I was listening to a podcast by one of my favorite teachers, and she began teaching about how the deepest root in us, that goes the deepest, needs to be the belief that he loves us. Because when we believe that he loves us, we operate in a completely different way. We have a completely different mindset, and we approach life in a totally different way. And I was asking him, wow, why does this make me so emotional? I mean, I know I love you. I know you love me. But why do I feel like I get stuck questioning that or doubting that? And he just allowed me to just realize that there was still, I had been through this process of weeding out. I mean, I love gardening, but weeding out all of the gunk and the gross stuff in me, and pulling out bitterness and resentment and all these things as we uncover all these layers together. But he let me realize that I still had shame stuck in there, and it was deeper than his belief, or than my belief of his love for me. And he just kind of revealed that to me, and so I just kind of began recently, okay? I don't have it together. This was recent. Figuring out that was still in there, and that was something I was dragging around that I didn't need to anymore. And so I want to share a little bit of what I would say is my testimony with you. Just a little bit of my history with God, so you can see really how he's just like rescued me, because there's no explanation for why I'm sitting up here other than just the love of God and him rescuing my heart and allowing me to, or patiently allowing me to finally get it. And so also I would just say that he's also just recently helped me see that some of my deepest wounds, like deep in there, have brought some of the most healing in my life and have helped me grow the most. And so even though I would never have chosen to walk through some of these things that I've walked through, which I'll get to, he has brought the most healing from those places. And so as a little girl, I was a little preacher's girl, preacher's daughter. But I was, unfortunately, I was living in a home that had kind of I just began to view the marriage that my parents had, and I had a very distorted view of what love looked like. And my mom suffered from some severe depression and spent a lot of my childhood sleeping. And I began to feel very unwanted and rejected, that everything about me was just too much noise, too much whatever. And I think that is when shame really started to sow itself into me, where the enemy just really had a heyday with my little tiny mind. And I really began to believe that lie, that I was not worthy of love. And so really from people, or from God for that matter, not really even understanding who God was, whether, I knew all the Bible stories and I knew all the songs, but I didn't really understand who he was. I definitely didn't understand the Holy Spirit, or what that was, and how that just left lots of questions. So fast forward to high school, and I ran fast and hard from all the rules and all the things. I didn't believe that God was good, especially for me, that I had any value at all. And, Corey Asbury talks about writing reckless love, and during a spontaneous moment within a worship, he says this line, and when I heard it, I just like, oh, yes. He says it was like my innocence was poured out like water, and that's like what happened. I just gave it away. And I know that I've just, like, the shame from that, and he just, like, would whisper over me, like, the enemy would just whisper over me, like, you are not worthy, you are dirty, and you are all these things that I wasn't. But I believed those lies, and they were, like, just twisting my mind, and I just, I didn't believe, like I said, God was good, and especially for me anyways. So then I, began working in a salon, and I was really good at putting on this I'm okay face, and I put on the makeup face, and I made everybody else happy. And I stood behind the people in my chair, and I was happy. I'm okay, you're okay, we're all okay, because that's how I'm going to get through my day, and that's how I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other, because really I'm just numb inside, and I don't really even know what I feel. But I know I'm broken, but it's too much and too messy, and I can't really even go there. So I just did my best to hold it together, and in that time I had married my high school sweetheart, or whatever, because that was a great idea. And then God gave us 3 babies, and an adopted son from Haiti, and, somehow, through all of the addiction issues with Sean and all of the crud. I don't know. I just lived most of my days afraid. Really just striving and perfecting and performing every single day for everybody around me and at work. And so I should win an award. I was so good at it. I mean, maybe if you really knew me, you knew I wasn't okay, but I did a really good job at pretending I was. And so after 11 years, he decided to bail. And so the, things that happened then were so excruciating. I mean, they were like, well, your husband leaves you with 4 kids, and more of the rejection that I had already stuffed, and the shame, and he knew all my insecurities, and so he attacked me in every way, even like my femininity and the way my body was and all the things he knew I didn't like about myself. And you guys, I hated myself, and I believed every lie that he told me, and every lie that the enemy he just like spoke. It just like I just was attacked, and I just listened to it. I was just going to tell you this story because this was kind of like I was trying to figure out like, well, what was a turning point? Where did I finally like see Jesus in some of this mess? And I was loading my dishwasher, and my kitchen made an L, so I could load my dishwasher, and I would duck down, and all these little people are at the table and eating breakfast, and I'm like, barely alive here, and I'm trying to get through the day, and I would bend down and pretend to put something in there, and I would let the tears fall for a couple seconds because I just couldn't contain them. And, there was only so much they could witness of my pain, and I was trying to hide it a little because that's what I do. And I would stand back up with a deep breath, and, hi, everybody, what do you need? And I got them all to school, and I opened my Bible, and I started reading Isaiah 54, and I'm going to read it to you because it was that powerful for me. And so it says, Isaiah 54:4, do not be afraid, you will not be put to shame. Do not fear disgrace, you will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth and remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. For your Maker is your husband, the Lord Almighty is his name. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer, and the Lord, he is called the Lord of all the earth. The Lord will call you back. I'm sorry, I can't read over my writing in here. As if you were a wife deserted and distressed in spirit, a wife who had married young only to be rejected. And I remember like dropping my Bible thinking, what? Like, this actually applies to every single thing I'm experiencing. And then he continues like later in in verse 11, talking about how he will rebuild you with stones of turquoise and foundations of lapis lazuli, and make your battlements of rubies and your gates of sparkling jewels and all of your walls of precious stones. And then it says, all of your sons will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their peace. Because my biggest fear was, I don't want to get a divorce. I don't want to go with that. What's going to happen to my kids, And so I just have claimed that as a promise for them and over my family. That is what God says for them and about them. And so he began to change the way I think. Thank goodness. He put women in my life that spoke the truth into me and declared life over me and my boys. And I started to see his love for me, and I started to believe in his love for me. It's like he wooed me like a husband, and that was like foreign to me. I didn't even understand like him even as a daddy or as a papa, as a father, because my dad was very invested in our church, but he was pretty emotionally absent from me, and obviously so was my mom. And so there's this little person taking all these things in, and I didn't even know what to do with that except to just be like just kind of in awe. And I learned to really start declaring the truth out loud, and the Lord kind of used my salon, because I was then on my own, almost as like a little ministry where I could somehow find the boldness to just pray for people because he said to. Even if they didn't believe in Jesus, I did it. And imagine that. Some really cool things happened in there. Then I met Spencer. And for those of you that don't know Spencer, oh, he's silly. But he loves me, and he is a good man. We found out we were expecting a little girl, and the same day as the ultrasound of finding out Charlotte was Charlotte, we also found out she was going to be born with several birth defects and several disabilities if she even made it. In fact, most of my appointments became my doom and gloom appointments because nobody ever had anything positive to ever say. But because I had established a little bit of trust here with Jesus, because he took me out of such a rotten place before, like, well, oh, I forgot to say this. The same night we found out that she was going to have all these issues, I couldn't sleep, of course. I mean, I was just crying myself silly. Spencer's gone somewhere else working. He travels for work, and had to tell him all this information over the phone. But it was like the Lord just whispered over my spirit that a lot of people, this is what he said, a lot of people will come to know Jesus because of her. And I was like, oh. And then I went to sleep. And so she came, and she proved every doctor wrong, and she just came, and she did things she wasn't supposed to do. She ate with a cleft lip. She nursed for a little tiny bit. She was able to come and stay and live at our house. She was tiny, but she made it home for a little while. And a lot of you know this already, but a lot of you don't, so I feel like I needed to share. We were up in northern Minnesota at a family vacation where I've gone since I was tiny. And Charlotte stopped breathing, and she died at 2.5 months old on our family vacation. There are some days that it didn't feel like living could even matter. But it is where he has met me and been the closest to me. I feel like it was Charlotte's death that has really taught me to choose love and to choose him. I learned there that he isn't afraid of my emotions. Honestly, all I do is cry, right? Right? Still. He's taught me to ask the questions, to ask for healing for me, for others. He's let, I mean, of course I ask him why. You know, like to sing the song, he is good. I have to fight to say that, but I do believe that. I think I have to fight more for he's never going to let me down, because I really thought he was going to heal her. And I didn't think she would really just go to heaven already, but I can be okay right now because I have hope, because I know where she is. I know where she is, and I know who's with her, and I know I'll get to see her, and I know she's perfect. Not that she wasn't perfect, but she is perfect, and she is whole, and she is healed, and she doesn't feel any pain like I know she did in her tummy. And I can't see the whole picture, so I don't know the end of the story. I don't know the outcome, so I can't get stuck on asking why. And I have to move to like what now and where now, and I have to ask other questions. I ask why. I asked why. I sometimes so I guess what I would want to leave you with today is just a couple things that I have this heart that I don't know even where we got it. I think somebody gave it to my mom. I don't know. But I've used this before in like an Instagram post or something weird. So sorry if this seems repetitive here. But this is like such a perfect prop. This is like what my heart looked like, you guys. Okay? It's all cracked and broken, but there's like this hard plain glass on top, and it's just boring and hard and there. Hurting, but under all that hard stuff. So I feel like this is now what it is, and so I wiggle it around, and you see all the scars, and you see all the cracks and the pieces put back together, and I feel like that is exactly what he did with my heart. And there's a worship leader, I mean, I'm sure we all know who she is, but she sings Pieces, and her name is Stephanie Gretzinger. Is that how I say it? And she has a spontaneous worship singing that song, and you need to Google it because you need to watch it. It's about 15 minutes. You need to be alone and watch it, all of it. And in there, you know, she's like quieting the band, and she just starts speaking, and the Spirit just starts moving through her, and she says these words that I really feel just like changed me, and really just described exactly how I feel. So I'm going to share what those were. And she says, well, here's what she says. Your love's not fractured. It's not a troubled mind. It's not anxious. It's not the restless kind. Your love's not passive. It's never disengaged. It's always present. It hangs on every word you say. Love keeps its promises. It keeps its word. It honors what's sacred because its vows are good. Your love's not broken. It's not insecure. Your love's not selfish. Your love is pure. And he doesn't give his heart in pieces. And he has taken my heart and loved it back together. And he has literally changed every single thing I ever believed about love. And so this is what I would want you to leave with. I want you to not leave tonight without really believing, like, the deepest thing that's down in here is that Jesus loves you. Not even that you love him or that you trust him, but that he loves you. He loved you first. He loves you. And there was nothing that he won't do for you. And if you don't believe it, then you need to start saying it. You need to start declaring words with your mouth, because there's life and death in the power of the tongue until you can start speaking it. Even if you don't believe it, it will change the way, it will shift your whole life, your whole mindset, your whole belief system will change. Sometimes people don't want to say that. They don't want to speak it, so then sing it. Sing it. Start walking around and sing it. That's not as weird. People see you, they think you're singing, not talking to yourself in your car. And then you'll get bold and brave, and then you'll speak it. And then maybe you'll speak it to somebody or over somebody, and then the whole atmosphere changes. When Melody was praying, I don't know who saw us. I know you did. We looked at each other. I don't know what she said, but something about the presence of God. Yeah. And the fire went whoosh. Did you see it?
I saw it. It's like lit up.
Yeah. It was powerful. So he was here. He is here. He's always here. But he really is here. And that's all, folks.